Sure, 30 lessons before 30 sounds better, but I'll be in medical school then and don't want to overestimate how much time and energy I'll have to do something like this. So, 29 lessons learned before 29 will have to do. So, this list is paired with a little digital art piece I doodled for the background. I also challenged myself to keep the elaboration on each point to just 2 sentences. Number 1, preparation is most of everything in a task well done. When you prepare your grocery list and meals in advance, prepare for the gym, prepare for a test, even prepare for sleep, the results of those activities are likely to be so much better quality. Most things aren't actually that hard to do, just hard to actually sit down and plan for and execute. So when I look back at my failures, I like to determine whether or not I just wasn't well prepared enough. And the answer is often yeah. So number 2, avoid avoidance. Most big problems began as little problems that went unaddressed because, maybe it's emotionally painful to face the original problem head on, or maybe, good old procrastination rearing its head. But I think the two of those are related. Running from pressing issues during difficult times totally stunts your emotional development and causes small problems to spiral and block any later blessings. Number 3, childhood is extremely impactful, but the shortest part of your life. Taking the time to sort through my personal stuff early was probably one of the best ways I spent my 20s. So, yes, sort through your family and personal issues so they don't continue to plague you, but also, leave childhood where it belongs and become a present adult after that doesn't point to childhood issues for every single mistake. Number 4, if you have an unorthodox dream, go for it early. So you have prime experimentation years in your 20s because when risky ventures don't work out, there's still plenty of time to recover and approach life more practically. While I'm sure that I'll discover there's plenty of time to reinvent later in life as I live it, it just seems much harder to do once you start dealing with more complex financial situations, relationships, and just life situations. Number 5, make decisions yourself or they will be made on your behalf. You will become something. If you don't intentionally design your life and take responsibility for yourself, there are plenty of other entities, families, governments, gangs, religions, the dominant culture that are happy to do it on your behalf and without regard for really what you want or what's best for you as an individual necessarily. Number 6, recognize bad advice as early as possible. This one is tough because the hardest part about our mistakes is that we rarely recognize that we are making them while we are making them. And a lot of terrible advice comes from people we trust and love. I can't say everything I want to in just 2 sentences for this point, so I'll just say pay attention to actions and consequences and always be ready to course correct if you really realize something is not working. Number 7, notice this instance specifically. When you're given a situation that you've reacted to strongly or handled negatively in the past, but now have handled well. To me, this is such an amazing feeling of satisfaction and the sign of true growth that I've found in my life. It's like you didn't just learn the lesson, you internalized it and you are different now, so your life can be too. Number 8, reject more things, people, and experiences. This is not snooty. It shows knowledge of self, discernment, and better judgment from learning about what is good for you and what isn't. It means you developed standards and boundaries as you lived life, which actually preserve not only your own well-being, but builds healthy relationships with other people. Number 9, it's your moral duty to develop your talents to help others. This might be controversial, but, our time and lives on this earth are precious. So developing your uniqueness and talents in order to serve and help others really is a divine task that can infuse life with so much meaning. Whether you're a server helping people enjoy a dining experience or a painter decorating a canvas, How you use your life and skills matters because your life matters. Number 10, people ignore good sense and good advice all the time. There's a natural human urge to coach the people we love out of what we feel are bad decisions. But in my experience, people do what they want at the end of the day, and trying to intervene just makes everyone frustrated. I've learned to focus on myself and give everyone the freedom to live life how they want and only offer help or advice if it's asked for because I appreciate that too. Number 11, lose the fear of assessing yourself, the people around you, and your decisions clearly. I firmly reject the idea that being judgmental about the right things in the right way to produce good outcomes in your life is being mean. The only way to break generational curses, your own traumatic cycles, and self sabotaging habits is to stare closely at yourself and your environment and identify what's holding you back. 12. It is extremely difficult to turn your life around. Change is hard, but some of the hardest changes I think have come from dealing with my own mistakes and failings. Uh, you know, Learning to turn your life around is a great skill because it's very likely you'll have to do it at some point after finding yourself walking down a path you actually don't want to go down anymore. But digging ourselves out of messes is just really hard, however worth it is. Get your morals together now and early. Famed multi-billionaire investor Warren Buffett, now approaching 100 years old, emphasizes again and again that building good character will only pull you up in life. He notes that he's seen a lot of people with tons of intelligence and potential undone by immoral decisions and bad habits. Number 14, you can't skip steps. Yeah, it would be nice to get all our life goals right away, but that would actually be a curse because I bet you can't yet actually handle what you're asking for. Success can come too early and will feel more like punishment if you skip steps and try to get to levels you haven't earned faster than you deserve. Number 15, have fun while working towards something. Unless you're already an independently wealthy adult or a child, you have no business dedicating your life just fully to fun. As someone who has worked, different jobs and had plenty of fun both in and outside of work at the same time, your 20s are prime years for testing things out, exploring, growing up through difficult experiences, going back to school, and not just extending responsibility-free adolescence. If you're enjoying this piece so far, hit like so I know to keep making content like this and the algorithm knows you find it useful. Hit the subscribe button too and check out the Patreon link in the description for different ways to support this channel and all the bonuses you get. I'd love to have you on board and hear more about what you're enjoying specifically so I can kind of tailor it towards you. Okay, back to the video. 16. As for me and my house. You are being bombarded with messaging about what to do, how to live, and where to spend your hard-earned resources all the time. Learning to resist external pressures to live by your own decisions is empowering and helps you remember that in your mind, in your household, you can decide to be great even if your current environment is not. 17. Always clap for others even when it's hard. People who you don't think deserve promotions will get them sometimes, and there will be moments you are down when others are up. But don't let jealousy poison any good relationships and learn to recognize bitterness in yourself and work to cultivate a good attitude regardless. Be so grateful you cry. If you are watching this video, you are likely surrounded by so many hidden blessings that are so easy to take for granted daily, like this internet connection. Really look around and notice if you have drinkable water flowing through your taps, electricity running throughout your house, even one person you can trust and call a friend. Number 19. You are increasingly running out of leeway for poor health habits. Your 20s are a decade where you can ignore what you eat, sleep too little, and drink too much without too many side effects for the most part. I promise that this ends and your lifestyle really begins to show up physically and mentally. 20. Your mistakes aren't random. I promise that one of the most useful things that you can do is track what kinds of mistakes you're making in life. They point to a weakness that you can usually address, and then almost as if by magic, you stop falling into those same traps. 21. Learn to forgive and let go. I can be a pack rat emotionally and physically, so this one has been tough for me to learn, but I found it so key in moving through life's inevitable transitions. Learning forgiveness for self and others unburdens you from the past and releases you from people and situations that no longer suit your highest life direction. Whatever you do in life, build your management skills. I started my blog largely from the recognition that navigating life well involves building skills in key areas, and a lot of those skills are related to self-management. You'll need to manage your own time and resources first of all, but as many of us get older and become parents, managers, supervisors, we step into or are pushed into roles that involve the most difficult and important job, in my opinion, on this planet: managing and developing other lives. 23. Shortcuts are what will undo you. Patience is your friend in life when you're doing the right thing. Good things take time, and being tempted into cutting corners can undo so much of your hard work. 24. Serious romantic commitment can wait longer than you think. It's funny how urgent it feels to get married when you're young, and I can't figure out how much is from culture and family norms and how much of that is just the raging impulsivity many of us have when we're younger. Either way, you have so much more time than you think, and I believe that it's a much better use of time to pour into your own development in your 20s, whether that's exploring hobbies, learning to make friends, trying out new cities, or studying in school. 25. Get better at processing and analysis. Although life can feel, and often is, chaotic, the universe is actually governed by increasingly well-defined principles and largely operates in a very systematic and ordered way. Refine your ability to recognize meaningful patterns in life around you and really grasp that the same way you can practice and revise math to improve your math skills, you can practice and revise from your life experiences to improve at life. 26. Avoid being in a desperate situation. I know, this one can be difficult to control, difficult to define, and many people were simply born into desperate situations. But do what you can do to plan ahead and understand what's in your control, because moments of desperation are usually when we make the worst decisions and enter the domain of unethical people who prey on others' desperation. 27. You need a budget. The boring old guys are right, unfortunately. On the bright side, once you master budgeting and getting an income in, you can really learn to have fun with money and view it as a good and positive tool to help you create an awesome life. 28. Your life spirals up, down, or oscillates up and down. This one definitely needs a full video to explain, but basically, the quality of one decision actually is related to the quality of decisions available to you after that. Good decisions generally expose you to more good options and people who generally also make good decisions. Poor decisions generally expose you to worse decisions after that, and fewer options in general, and people who are also pushed into making poorer decisions. 29. Learn to recover. Life will deal everyone some very difficult emotional and physical experiences. It's usually not the tragedy or failure itself that determines the quality of your life ultimately, but what you do in response to that event and what you gain by going through that struggle. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching and listening. The audio of everything will also be published on my podcast, which is linked in the description below if you're on the go or just prefer to use podcast apps. The podcast is called Self Management by Soft and Centered, and it's available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or using the web link in the description. Maybe most importantly, please subscribe to the newsletter. It goes out weekly, and you can sign up using the link below. That's kind of the central hub, so you can find out when, what, and where new content is posted all neatly in one place. Thank you again for watching, and if this was at all interesting or helpful to you, please check out my Patreon. Soft and Centered is a passion project, years in the making, that I research for, write for, create in my free time, and I really appreciate everyone who's been on this journey with me so far.